It's an extension extravaganza in LA, Minnesota, Dallas, around the NFL, a bunch of big money deals. We also have a player waiting for a contract, and we're also going to reveal our special spotlight guest of the week that is coming up tomorrow. And a bit of a teaser, he's actually involved in the news. NFL Spotlight starts now. Welcome in. It is the Monday, July 28th edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Another week, full training camps around the NFL. Pads came on Saturday, on Sunday, and then officially everyone today will be in pads around the NFL. It is football season. It is finally here. And later this week, surprise, surprise, preseason football will officially be here on Thursday. Chargers-Lions Hall of Fame game. Football is back. I don't care if it's backups. We're going to have a real football game with actual players on the field in the NFL. Like I said in the cold open, we will be revealing our special spotlight guest of the week on the back end of the show. And it really is perfect timing because this guy just got paid and we will be talking about him here during the show as well. But let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, what is going on? It's great to see you here on this Monday.
Yeah, it is great to see you here as well, Ari. Football. It's back. And there are a lot of dudes who are going to be hitting the field with big, fat stacks, and none bigger than the guy out in Los Angeles, Mr. Rashawn Slater, breaking a new deal for the offensive tackles. That's right. He's going to be making a whopping $28.5 million annually, 4 years, $114 million total, $92 million guaranteed. He's going to be there for a while, protecting Justin Herbert and making Harbaugh a very happy man with that offense, being fortified with one of the best offensive linemen in the game today. Can you tell us a little bit more about this contract, what it means for the rest of the market, and most importantly, what it means for the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, it's big news for everybody involved. Rashawn Slater, since coming into the NFL as the number 13 overall pick in 2021, still surprised to this day that he fell that far in that draft, just knowing how obviously we know teams value offensive linemen and how important the left tackle position is. For him to fall to 13 in that draft was shocking to me. I know people similar to this year were arguing about the arm length of Rashawn Slater. It's 33-inch arms. Could he do it? He's fine. Now he's the highest paid offensive tackle in NFL history. And last year, Jim Harbaugh said it, offensive linemen for me are like weapons. And aside from that 1 year that he had an injury year, he has basically started virtually every single game throughout his career, has missed one or two here and there, but for the most part has been durable aside from that one season. And he's really become one of the very best offensive tackles in the NFL. And you look at the Chargers, there's definitely work to do on the interior of the offensive line, but for the next 7, 10, 12 years, they are set when it comes to the bookend tackles. They have Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. It is a perfect situation for them. And for Slater, because he did not get extended last year when he became eligible, he had some leverage in these talks, and part of that leverage ended up being he does a 4-year deal. And when you look at some of the other offensive linemen who got extended, Penei Sewell, Tristan Wirfs, they all did 5-year deals. He does a 4-year deal with 1 year remaining, so he's now under contract for the next 5 years. But he essentially, his agent basically understood that I'm going to try to get the years that I want, and as a result, he should get another bite of the apple of the year during his prime. Right around when he becomes 30 years old. So overall, a really good deal for everybody here. And this was a very big piece of business of the year for the LA Chargers to do. They knew from the start they had to beat the Tristan Wirfs number. It took some time. They were close the last few days. Now it finally gets done on Sunday. And Slater, for what it's worth, he was sort of holding it at one point because he knew it was getting very close. The Chargers wanted him back out and they got the deal done. So it's great for all parties of the year, and he should stay as the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL because I do not see any other deals surpassing that over here this offseason.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Is there anyone in particular that you think is going to look at this number, maybe not as a number they want to beat, but a number that they can look at and say, okay, we understand Slater is one of the top end guys, so we feel we're here closer to $25 million annually. Is there anyone out there that stands out to you?
I mean, it's always like, I remember last year when Patrick Surtain became the highest paid quarterback, then Jalen Ramsey adjusted his deal to go back over him. So I'm not going to rule out that possibility happening with some sort of a player here, but the other extensions that are out there are Like the next left tackle one is Bernard Ryman in Indianapolis, who has become a really good player. But I don't
Not
see it gets not this exactly 28 plus $1 million. I think he falls somewhere close to that 23 to 25 range, maybe a little bit lower than that, but somewhere in that range for the ascending player that he is. But Slater, first round pick, has been consistent, has been great. He's part of that program. Everything you want on the field, off the field, has battled injuries and played through it for the most part. He's the exact Charger Jim Harbaugh wants. So I don't think anyone is surpassing it this offseason. Come next year, we could have that discussion. Ike Ekwonu is in conversations right now in Carolina. Charles Cross has discussions in Seattle. I have a hard time seeing them surpass it. So I'm gonna lead on the side of caution here and say it's not gonna happen. But as we all know, there's always those fake numbers in the back end. You never know what could happen over here in one of those other deals, but I would be surprised.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because like the three guys at the top of the list on a per year basis are Rashawn Slater now, Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell. But then the fourth guy is somebody who's been around for a long time, has made a lot of money, but I could still see there being a little bit of an inching of maybe some back end years to make it look bigger, and that's Trent Williams. You don't see that being something that can happen here in the near future where they say, all right, whatever, dude, we'll give you a little bit extra money, maybe a little bit more guaranteed money. We'll throw the fake number on so you can get to 30. Any chance of something like that happening?
So he did it last year, right? He got his deal adjusted last year. So he's practicing on the field. He's not holding out the way he did last year. I don't foresee it happening. So no. The other guys who are coming up, I mentioned it. I mean, Charles Cross probably has the best argument to make them maybe try to get close. I still have a hard time seeing it, but he has been pretty good so far, 3 years in Seattle. But again, I think Rashawn Slater should end up keeping this title over here by the end of the offseason when the season starts.
All right, well, the next guy we got to talk about is not necessarily shattering numbers, but is going to be getting a good chunk of change in the Dallas Cowboys system. 4 years, $52 million, $30 million guaranteed for tight end Jake Ferguson. He's become a nice, reliable part of that offense for Dak Prescott. They obviously, every single year, have expectations that they're going to be winning games. This seems like a very solid move to keep a constant contributor in the lineup there in Dallas for that extended period of time. What do you think of this number, and what do you think of the deal overall?
I was a bit surprised that this got done because Jake Ferguson had an unbelievable year in 2023 with 71 catches, 761 yards, 5 touchdowns, was the perfect target there as a security blanket for Dak Prescott in the offense after Dalton Schultz left in free agency to Houston. Last year, Ferguson dealt with injuries. There was the Dak Prescott missing a bunch of games, and they had to use Cooper Rush and for the last game, Trey Lance. And it just wasn't the same thing. He had 0 touchdowns last year, 59 receptions, 494 yards, just not the year that he was hoping for. So I thought he might actually take the Dalton Schultz route, which was play out your contract and then become a free agent. I know Schultz got tagged, but point is try to have a big year and then get paid somewhere else, or make Dallas pay more money because you just had a big year in a contract year. But quietly, these two sides started working on an extension, 4 years, $52 million. It's not breaking the tight end market in any way. It's near the bottom of the top 10, but at least he gets the money that he needs because he was a mid-round pick and has not really gotten much money so far in his career. And for Dallas, it is a bit being proactive and realizing, hey, this guy is an ascending talent. He was really good with Dak Prescott when Dak was on the field, and he's still very young. So let's take care of it now before the price does jump potentially if he has a big year this year, especially with all the weapons that we've added around the offense. So while everyone, pokes fun at Dallas for taking their time, they actually they were able to take care of this deal early and get it done over here, even though he's coming off a down year for his standards. So there's still a bunch of other extensions in Dallas to get done. We know about the big one in Micah Parsons. There's Tyler Smith, the offensive lineman. There's potentially Deron Bland, the quarterback. There's the kicker and Brandon Aubrey. This one was not necessarily on my bingo card, but they started working on it quietly and it got done on Sunday. And it's a nice payday for a player who should have his arrow pointing up over here over the future.
Well, sticking there in the NFC East for guys that are pass catchers, there's still not a resolution for what's going on with Terry McLaurin in Washington, but we do know he's going to be reporting to camp, albeit not practicing, because he has an ankle injury that is going to be making him be placed on the PUP list. As you see here on YouTube, fingers going up for ankle injury. this is a complicated situation. We've talked at length about the fact that he is going to be a 30-year-old receiver, the wrong side of it. He wants a certain number, likely over $30 million. Commanders have been a little bit hesitant to put him in that upper echelon of top 10 receivers. He's there. That's great. He's been around. He's already been around in the past too with, other forms of camp that they've had up till this point, but not on the field, which is going to be a hindrance for Jaden Daniels. It's going to be a hindrance for the running backs. It's going to be a hindrance for Deebo Samuel trying to get acclimated to that offense. Where are they in the process of finding a resolution, and how quickly do you think that ankle is going to heal after that contract gets signed?
So Terry, for not showing up, was getting fined every single day $50,000, and there really appears to have been not much significant progress being made during that time. So he started realizing, okay, I'm supposed to make this year about $20 million or a little bit under that. Why am I taking these $50,000 fines over here? Nothing is really moving. So let me report to training camp. Let me go take my physical, do all I got to do, and then do what has become the norm around the NFL, which is holding in, which is still being there, but you're not getting fined anymore. And of course, we've seen a bunch of different examples around the NFL. Oh, my hamstring is tight. Oh, my back hurts. And this one is, oh, my ankle hurts. So he's going to be there now. He won't get fined, but he's not going to participate in anything until a deal gets done. And we've mentioned it before. We'll say it again. DK Metcalf got over $30 million per year. They were both in the same draft class. Terry probably believes that he's a better or similar receiver to DK Metcalf, and he's definitely been a player who has been in this organization, has been a very big part of it on and off the field. So he should be somewhere in that area. And to this point, clearly, Washington has not been there. And until that gets done, he's going to stay away. As soon as that deal gets done, and hopefully it does, I guarantee you that ankle injury will be much better. But I think from a strategy standpoint, I think Terry and his people realize that, hey, this probably is better for us to be there instead of getting these fines, which are unforgivable. And let's just make sure we keep our money. Let's just be there. And it's still going to be a distraction for the organization that on the practice field, but not practicing. And if you saw, there were videos out there that the local media took of him showing up at practice on Sunday, and the fans were going nuts. They were cheering Terry's name, Terry, Terry, Terry. Like, he's there, but he's not practicing, and that is a weird situation. So we'll see where this goes next, but I don't get the sense that him reporting on Sunday means a deal is close. All it is a strategy over here by his people realizing, hey, the holdout strategy, we like that idea. We thought maybe it'll make it go faster. It hasn't done that yet. So now let's go in there. Let's stop getting fined and let's see where this goes now. And if it continues to be a situation where nothing is happening, maybe we'll step up a notch. But we shouldn't read too much into the fact that he's there. It's more just a realization by Terry that it probably makes more sense to be in the building right now.
This has got to be hurting him, right? Like, we've heard him repeatedly say, I want to be a Washington Commander. I've got my family here. We bought a house. We got roots here now. Yeah. He doesn't seem to be, I mean, he mentioned the whole idea, like, maybe I'll have to go somewhere else. But, like, it's very clear he wants to be there. Are you surprised that the Commanders really aren't leaning into this whole idea that, and I don't mean this in a mean way, I'm from the DMV, the Commanders have never really been a destination. So a lot of times when they get these top players, they're drafting them. These are guys that are coming in, they're becoming part of the culture from rookie year, building on it from there. Now you have this sexy young quarterback who's going to attract a certain level of players there. But this is a guy who really is part of the culture, and the fans, they resonate to him. So are you surprised there still hasn't been just like a little bit of like, okay, this is going to hurt us a little bit more than we want to, but we understand the value that he brings beyond just the 5 years of 1,000+ receiving yards and all the other numbers he puts up.
Of all the contract situations that we've covered here on the show for the last year, there have been dozens upon dozens. This has been probably the most surprising one to me because, like you said, he has been in Washington through all the bad and now is there through all the good, and he's still a great player, and he is, like I've said before, a model player on and off the field. He's exactly the type of player you want in your culture, in your building, for everything. I mean, when Washington was going through all the difficulties before this new ownership came in, the person who was always put on camera to speak about it was always him. And he was the one who had to navigate the entire situation and right the ship. And now that they're finally out of that entire situation, they're in this new era. They had all those magical moments last year that Washington fans will never forget. And he was a big part of most of them. Now they're dealing with all of this when they're about to go into a crucial year where there are so many expectations for this team to repeat what they did last year. So it's weird that it's gotten to this point. I understand business is business, and usually when teams are paying players, it's not about what you did for me in the past, it's what you do for me in the future. And the reality is Terry is still a very good player, a durable player, and someone very important for the organization. So I don't understand why it's happening like this. I don't understand why when Terry spoke a couple of weeks ago, he said the communication has been bad. There should not be communication issues between these two parties. It should be pretty straightforward. And I'm surprised that it's like that. So again, he's in the building now. He'll see Dan Quinn. He'll see Adam Peters. Maybe he'll see Josh Harris. Maybe Magic Johnson will make an appearance there. Whoever it is, and they'll have a conversation. But this should be pretty straightforward. I mean, the receiver market has definitely skyrocketed here over the last couple of off seasons. But the reality is, look at where all those receivers are falling in there. Look at where number one receivers are being paid. It's in the 30s. That's where it is. So that's where he wants it to be. And until Washington goes there, this is going to continue. So I don't know when it's going to end, but like I said before, it's one of the more surprising sagas we've had. And one, if you told me at the start of the offseason, pick a bunch of players, which one will be in the saga, I would have never picked Terry McLaurin, but here we are.
I cannot wait until we get a canned Magic Johnson tweet. Like, remember for the longest time, whenever any news or anything would happen, it felt like before Chat GPT, he was just like writing these super generic, wow, great contract. Like, I can't wait now that he's invested in the team too to see this Terry McLaurin post. It's going to be hilarious.
And by the way, they are very close. Like, I mean, there are games after games last year where the first person Terry would see once he gets into the locker room is Magic Johnson, and they're taking a picture, and there's videos out there. So Magic obviously does not have controlling interest of the team, but he does have a pretty big voice there. So it's just weird. It really is weird because there should be positive momentum all over the place here in Washington. After the year they had, the offseason they just had, training for a bunch of players, adding more veterans, like this should be a win now team. And now you have this thing hovering over you as week number 2 of training camp kind of gets underway. So it's odd. It's weird. We'll see if anything changes, but I would have never forecasted this happening. It just feels like a common sense player to pay. I get to 30 years old, but Ben, I'll repeat what I said last week. He's 30 years old is a little bit different because he did not play much in college at the beginning part of his career. And throughout his career in the NFL, he has played through everything, has played every single game for the most part, and he's never had a real playoff run until last year. So when it comes to the wear and tear, it's a little bit different for Terry McLaurin compared to some other 30-year-olds in the NFL. So that's the argument being made. But for now, the dollars are not making sense right now for him, and this will continue until it does.
Well, you talk about weird situations. I'm not sure that there has been any weirder situation than what's been going on with Shemar Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals. And it feels like everything is finally good, right? We've got Shemar Stewart has agreed to his rookie contract, albeit a little bit different than maybe some of the other rookies on deals around the NFL, different than what was probably proposed by his side, different than what was proposed by the Cincinnati Bengals side. We have a very unique contract structure for the rookie pass rusher. I need you to explain this because I know there's money that is like up front that wouldn't normally be up front. There's still the option for guarantees to be voided if he goes to prison or whatever else the Bengals want to say. Can you explain this deal? I know it's a little unique.
We did a video a couple months ago about what could be negotiated in a rookie contract. Some of it is when you get paid your signing bonus. Some players get it all in one shot. Some players get some money here, some money a few months later, some money a year later. Those are the things that you can negotiate. You can negotiate offset language. You can negotiate default language about when money could potentially void, which was a very, very big part of this negotiation. The Bengals essentially said that if an off the field incident ever happens, we would have the right to void the entire contract. Shemar's people were like, no, you could void that current year, but the rest stays intact because that is the same contract you have done with all your previous first round picks, including last year's first round picks in Amarius Mims. In the end, the contract they agreed to is the Bengals got the language they wanted. If an off the field thing ever happens to Shemar Stewart, whether it's something significant or something even potentially minor that has personal conduct policy, that money would void for the rest of the contract. However, in exchange, the Bengals said, "Hey, you're about to get this $10+ million in signing bonus. We're going to pay it out in several months or whatever the structure is. But $500,000 of it, we were supposed to give it to you in December. We're going to give it to you right now if you sign." And that's essentially how they finally agreed to get him to put pen to paper and show up to training camp. He's going to get more money right now up front. He could invest it, spend it, do whatever he wants with it. And that's essentially what happened. It was one of the dumbest holdouts we've had in recent NFL history. I understand both sides, but now moving forward, next year's first round pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, get ready. This will be the language you're going to have. And now the Bengals at least have precedent to say we've done this before. So that is the biggest change of here when it comes to the team side, the agent side. They tried very hard. We've said it before. They really, really go hard to try to get stuff for their players and sometimes a little bit too hard. They did not get what they wanted. They essentially caved. That's the reality. They don't want to hear that. I don't really care. They caved over here. But at the same time, the player had to come in to training camp and get ready because the reality is the most important thing, the rookie contract is great. It's amazing. What players play for is that second contract. So get in there, learn the defense for Al Golden, become a big part of this team, and eventually a couple of years from now, if all goes well, there'll be another big battle between these two sides about a second contract, and I guarantee we'll cover that also.
All right, Ari, we have one more deal to get to, and it is exciting for a multitude of reasons. But the man who does everything for the Minnesota Vikings, he's called a safety, but does a whole lot of things. Josh Metellus extends with the team. It is his third contract. It's 3 years, up to $42 million, $25 million guaranteed. It's a really good deal for the Vikings. I think it's a really good deal for Josh as well. There's a whole lot of layers to what he brings on the field, but there's also a whole lot of things that you and I have gotten to learn about him as well.
Yep, this was perfect timing, and we had a feeling on Friday that maybe, just maybe, a deal's about to get done. Josh Metellus, the Vikings do-it-all safety, is going to be our special spotlight guest of the week coming up here tomorrow. As you see on your YouTube screen, if you're watching on YouTube, he's going to be our special spotlight guest of the week, and he is somebody who has been a vital part of this Vikings organization under Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores, and of course their GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, his second time now getting an extension. This is a player who truly is not talked about enough in the national media. The amount of stuff that he does for the Vikings defense, where his versatility is among the best in the NFL, lines up at safety, corner, outside, inside, linebacker, defensive line. He had snaps at defensive tackle last year. He literally does everything for the Vikings defense, and the pairing of him with Brian Flores in that defense has been a match made in heaven, and he has been a very important part of that team, not just on the field, but also in the locker room. Has been a captain multiple times, will more than likely be a captain once again this year. And this was somebody who was a sixth-round pick, was somebody who was cut by the Vikings in that COVID year because he was in the COVID draft, was brought back on the practice squad, eventually worked his way to the active roster, playing on special teams, and then got his chance on defense, and it really blossomed once Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores got there in Minnesota. His story is incredible. He's a high energy guy. He does some media on his own as well, so he's really, really well spoken, and this was a really, really fun conversation over a half an hour, and he finally got that well-deserved payday. Figuring out his market was a very fun conversation as well. We didn't really have it on the show, but I spoke to him offline about it. What is he considered? Is it a safety? Is it a corner? Is it a make up your own market? Eventually, he gets his $12 million per year in base salary, could make some more with incentives. But if you look at it from a linebacker's perspective, that would put him near in the top 5, top 7. If you look at it from all the different positions, it's a very, very fun player over here who does so much for the Vikings defense. So he was a great guest, and that will be coming up over here on the show tomorrow on our Tuesday Spotlight Guest of the Week. But that would do it here for our Monday, July 28th edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. We will be back here with our special Spotlight guest, Josh Metellus, and we will see you all here tomorrow morning.